So sometimes I'm contacted by people who are struggling with their spiritual practice, and they tell me that at one point in their life they had a really beautiful experience, quite often whilst meditating, or maybe just from sitting in a church or temple, or being in the presence of a spiritual teacher. And they'll tell me that they experienced a moment of pure bliss and pure beauty, and that they completely forgot their own sense of self for a moment. Then they'll go on to say that ever since then they've been trying to get that moment back. They've been trying to recreate it and haven't been successful. They'll say that most of their practice time is actually just very mundane, with very little going on, but that they can't forget the beauty of that moment, and they can't understand why they can't get it back. So this is actually fairly common on the spiritual path, and many people will fall into this situation at some point, to a greater or lesser degree. So this is one of the traps on the spiritual path. It's the trap of chasing after experiences, or wanting to recreate an experience from the past. And this trap, or this pitfall of the mind, actually sets up the process of its own failure. If we're coming from a place of desire and a place of lack, of not having what we want, and craving that, then the mind is not at peace. We're creating a state of unrest in the mind that will actually prevent what it is that we're longing for from happening. And even if that experience does happen again, if there is that craving energy in the mind, then as soon as it comes, there will be attachment to it, and clinging, and not wanting it to go. So again, we're simply creating a disturbed state of mind that will lead to agitation rather than to peace and stillness. True transcendence of the mind, by its very nature, can only happen when there is no movement away from the self, no craving certain states of consciousness, and no clinging to those states if they do arise. So these beautiful states of being that can arise on the path are fantastic experiences to have, but we have to use them in the right way. They are like a glimpse of what is to come, quite often very fleeting glimpses, and we can use them to inspire us to engage more in spiritual practices. But we have to be very careful not to start chasing after them again. We need to be aware that something happened in the past, but the reality that we're with right now is our reality. And if we are to be content and at peace, then it has to be with this reality, not with some imagined or craved after state that does not exist. And the reality that we are in right now will most likely not be exciting. It will most likely be quite mundane, with little going on. It is likely to be slightly too hot or slightly too cold. There'll probably be a few too many cars driving past the window, or too many flies around, or dogs barking. And even if everything seems perfect around us, there's always the mind to bring something up that will seem disturbing, some memory from the past, or some feeling about something. So if we are to find peace in the mind, then we need to be able to accept what may appear to be not perfect, and perhaps not perfect both externally and internally. And we need to make our peace with that. We need to be able to come to a state of peace with things as they are, not as we might wish them to be. That's never going to work. And when we do come to a place of peace with things simply as they are, then we find that joy is also there, and serenity, and bliss, because these things are aspects of our own nature that are revealed when the fluctuations of the mind are stilled. So ironically, the very thing that is often considered to be elsewhere and constantly out of reach is actually always right here and always within reach. As the saying goes, it is closer than our very breath. The key word in all of this is contentment. It's a word that's rarely mentioned in spiritual teachings, but it's possibly the most important word there is. If we can learn to be content with what is, in every moment, then everything will follow automatically from that. So contentment is the doorway on the spiritual path.